Okay.
E.T. Oh, I love E.T.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. That you just made my night.
Good.
You just made my night
Thank
because you know what? We love you.
You know what? It's cold down here.
It is a little. I'm getting a little goosebumpy.
Oh my gosh.
You were smart because you have the
I
jacket.
have a jacket. Yep.
One might assume the life of America's sweetheart was a perfect fairy tale, but truth is often far stranger than fiction. Shirley Temple, the dimpled, curly-haired icon who saved a studio and lifted the spirits of a nation during the Great Depression, lived a life under the brightest of spotlights. To the world, she was a symbol of innocence and joy. When she grew up and started a family of her own, that pristine image was fiercely protected. But behind the closed doors of her carefully curated life, a story was unfolding that was darker and more complex than any Hollywood script. What happened in her first marriage was a sign of the turmoil to come, but the truly shocking secrets remained hidden for decades. Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking collapse of her fairy tale marriage and the shocking family secrets her daughter's life would ultimately expose. America's Sweetheart and the Soldier. In the mid-40s, Shirley Temple was no longer the little girl from The Good Ship Lollipop. She was a teenager navigating the awkward transition from world-famous child star to young woman. And like many girls her age, she was dreaming of a life beyond the studio lots. Her mother, hoping to provide a more normal adolescence, had enrolled her in the prestigious Westlake School for Girls. It was there, through a classmate, that she met the man who would become her first husband, Sergeant John Agar, a handsome, athletic Army Air Corps instructor and the older brother of her friend. For a young woman who had spent her entire life surrounded by scripts and directors, the tall, confident soldier seemed like a character straight out of a movie. The romance was a whirlwind. Agar took Temple to a party thrown by legendary producer David O. Selznick in 1944, and photographs of the radiant young couple instantly graced the pages of every film magazine. The public was captivated. This wasn't a Hollywood pairing arranged by a studio. This felt real, a genuine love story for their beloved star. Just days after her 17th birthday, on September 19, 1945, Shirley Temple married John Agar at Wilshire Methodist Church in Los Angeles. The event was a spectacle. While 500 guests were invited inside, a crowd of over 5,000 adoring fans swarmed the streets outside, desperate for a glimpse of the bride. For a nation just emerging from the shadows of World War II, the wedding was more than just a celebrity event. It was a symbol of hope, a return to fairy tale endings. The pictures from that day show a beaming teenage bride and her dashing husband, the very image of a perfect beginning. Years before the heartbreak, Shirley was just a teenager swept up in a whirlwind romance, eager to start the next chapter of her life. Quote, "She had marriage on the brain during this time, and she aspired to be the first girl in my class to get married. The world saw a perfect couple, but behind the scenes, the fairy tale was already beginning to crumble." The nightmare behind the white picket fence. Just 10 days into the marriage, the first devastating crack appeared. Following a bout of heavy drinking, John Agar turned to his 17-year-old bride and confessed he wished he had married someone else, a beauty with long legs. That cruel admission was a brutal introduction to the two forces that would destroy their union: Agar's escalating alcoholism and his deep-seated resentment of his wife's colossal fame. He had married America's sweetheart, but he couldn't stand living in her shadow. Behind the scenes, the marriage was deteriorating into a toxic cycle of drinking and conflict. Agar, leveraging his wife's connections, launched his own acting career, even starring alongside her in the 1948 John Wayne western Fort Apache. On screen, they played a loving couple. In reality, the relationship was in tatters. The birth of their daughter, Linda Susan Agar, in 1948, brought a brief glimmer of hope, but it wasn't enough to mend the deep fractures in their marriage. The smiling family portraits that appeared in magazines were a carefully constructed lie, hiding the mental cruelty Shirley was enduring at home. By 1949, she could no longer maintain the facade. She filed for divorce, and the court granted her sole custody of their daughter. Agar's life continued to spiral. He was arrested multiple times for drunk driving in the years that followed, and allegedly maintained little to no relationship with his daughter Linda for the rest of his life. Despite the turmoil, Shirley tried to build the perfect family she had always dreamed of. Years later, her daughter, Linda Susan, would remember the maternal ideal her mother always strove for. Quote, "But family was a really, really important part of her life. She was all about her children and her husband." Shirley found happiness again with her second husband, Charles Black, building a new family and new life far from the chaos of her first marriage. A different kind of star is born. After the public and painful divorce from John Agar, Shirley Temple found lasting love with Charles Alden Black, a wealthy and conservative businessman. She largely retired from acting and embarked on a remarkable second act as a politician and diplomat, eventually serving as the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. She and Charles had 2 children of their own, Charles Jr. and a daughter, Lori, born in 1954. While her older children, Linda Susan and Charles Jr., chose to live quiet lives far from the public eye, Lori was different. She was destined to step into a spotlight of her own, one that was a universe away from the wholesome glow her mother had once occupied. In the 1980s, as her mother was navigating the corridors of international diplomacy, Lori Black was diving headfirst into the gritty, anti-establishment punk rock scene. Adopting the name Lorax, she picked up a bass guitar and joined the Melvins, a band from Washington State whose slow, heavy sludge metal sound became a primary influence on the entire grunge movement, including bands like Nirvana. The contrast was staggering. The daughter of the prim and proper Ambassador Shirley Temple Black was now on stage with one of the loudest, weirdest, and most subversive bands in America. Her entry into the band came through her relationship with its frontman, the wild-haired Buzz Osborne. When the Melvins' original bassist, Matt Lukin, left to form Mudhoney, Lori stepped in, cementing her place in a scene that was the polar opposite of her family's world of political galas and quiet power. Lori's entry into the male-dominated, aggressive world of metal wasn't easy. She faced immediate skepticism, carrying the weight of not only being a woman in the scene, but also the one replacing a popular founding member. Quote, Lori was a really solid bass player. She really had a tough time because she assumed people wouldn't accept her being in the band. 1, being female, and 2, replacing Matt Lukin. As Lori's boyfriend, Buzz Osborne, moved into the Black family home, he was about to discover that the reality of life with America's sweetheart was stranger and far more unsettling than he could possibly imagine. The skeletons in the closet. When Buzz started dating Lori, he had no idea who her mother was. When she revealed it was Shirley Temple, he was floored. The family home was an unbelievable mansion filled with priceless art, with one of Shirley's Oscars just sitting out like a casual decoration. But it was the atmosphere that was truly unsettling. The family was intensely private, conservative, and quote-unquote proper, with strange rituals like lining up outside the dining room before entering for dinner together. Osborne quickly sensed a darker undercurrent beneath the polite, rigid exterior. Lori's father, Charles Black, was, quote, never nice to him, and he got the distinct impression the family viewed him as a leeching weirdo their daughter was dating purely for shock value. The real chill, however, came from Shirley herself. Behind the famous smile was a woman of formidable, steely power. Osborne recounted she had once made a particularly unnerving comment to him, saying that working in the government meant you could always get someone audited. He interpreted it as a veiled threat and subtle reminder of the immense power they held. He later discovered Charles was ex-CIA and described the family as uber right-wing, not in the sense of political punditry, but as individuals who made life and death decisions. Osborne remarked, the situation was far weirder than you could possibly imagine. The intense pressure cooker environment may have contributed to Lori's tragic downfall. By 1993, she had developed a heroin addiction and was arrested for possession, leading to her exit from the band. Osborne quickly realized that the family's polite, conservative exterior hid something much darker. Quote, and believe me, without going into any graphic details, there are massive skeletons in that closet. Lori Black has since retreated into a private life, working as a photographer and refusing all interviews. The story of Shirley Temple's family is a stark reminder that the brightest smiles can often hide the most profound and unsettling secrets. Now it's time to hear from you. Which part of this story was most surprising to hear? Let us know in the comments section below.